That's why everybody does.
I told you fat was the enemy. They told you to eat less and move more. But your body remembers the truth. And now you feel the rhythm. You tried the grains, you chased the fiber. You feared the yolk, you counted the calories, and still you were tired, you were inflamed. You were told that's just aging. But you were never broken, just lied to. Did you know it? Vitamins and minerals are essential nutrient your body needs, including B12, iron, and zinc, in the most absorbable form. Truth in the rhythm, power in the meat, healing in simplicity, feel it beat by beat, beat by beat. Truth in the rhythm, power in the meat, healing in simplicity, feel it beat by beat. One ingredient, one mission. You rise with the sun, salt on your tongue, fire in your mitochondria. Your food is fuel, not fantasy, and that's why you don't quit. That's why you feel alive. That's why you don't listen anymore. Did you know? Did you know cholesterol is vital for hormone production, brain health, and cell repair? And your body makes it for a reason. No cravings, no crashes, just clarity, just meat, just truth. Truth in the rhythm, peace in the plate. The body doesn't lie, it remembers what's real. Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? No, 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 no. Beat by beat. Beat by beat. Beat by beat. Truth in the rhythm, power in the meat, healing in simplicity, feel it. Beat by beat. Beat by beat. Beat by beat. Beat by beat. Did you know? Your brain is 60% fat, and the fear of fat was funded by sugar giants. You're not broken. You're bioavailable. You're back. Welcome to the rhythm of real health.
What the hell is going on? Ostriches in Canada, cows are dropping dead. Mark's got some stuff against science. We're going to get into some. Peter is a diabetic. We got a lot of things to talk about. Welcome into the meat of the matter. We'll see you in a minute.
Else is sick and fucking tired of seeing all the carnivore shit all over these fucking apps. No one cares if you only eat meat. every single one of you have to identify by carnivore fucking Connie, carnivore Ken, whatever the fuck your name is, and you add carnivore to the end of it on your fucking bio is fucking weird. Weird. You're literally treating your diet like a fucking religion. A religion. A meat religion. Okay? Like, what in the absolute meat fuck is this shit? Your fucking boards with your eggs and your cheese and your fucking butter and your dates. Who cares? You can't shit. Your fiber intake is fucking zero, and you think you're just fucking trudging through life getting all healthy. Get the fuck out of here. No one cares. Your meat fucking ass, your meat farts, your
Well,
meat
it is
sweats.
Sunday.
No
Welcome
one-
to the Meat of the Matter, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Instagram and YouTube's, all our channels. We appreciate you. We like to hear about it. Thanks for the comments, the hellos. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Boys, we have, before we get going, I just want to shout out to Byron Funk, Carnivore Beats. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel and his TikTok, bringing up the meat-fueled magic. He helps us out with the music. We love him. Also, shout out to the carnivore community. I know Brian's watching on Instagram. Sorry if I can't follow the chats on both. I am not tech savvy, but we are broadcasting on Instagram and on YouTube. And a very special shout out to Victoria, because Carnivore Evolutions is coming. Love the collaborations with all of it. The carnivore community worldwide, the Carnivore Evolution, Mark and Victoria's other project, and of course us. Boys, what it's been a crazy week, man. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, another crazy week in the world.
Mark,
Every day it's just getting worse.
I've noticed that your trust of the science is waning. Hey, a lot of the stuff that we're going to get into today is, it's almost like a broken record, but it just doesn't stop. Now, the fiber, the seed oils, the sugar, and us being in the carnivore space, we're we've got a lot of stuff to navigate through, and that's actually what the carnivore community village. I don't know if you guys have been following it, but it's great. Everybody's sort of chiming in, and they're on Instagram. It's pretty fun. But firstly, I want to do a very special or a very heartfelt thoughts and prayers to Katie Pasitny and the BC Ostrich Farm. I don't know if you guys have heard about that.
I did hear about it. Yeah, Victoria was telling me about it.
But our fine Canadian government just decided to put a cull order on 400 ostriches. And if you don't know the story, you probably don't, because the mainstream media is not really covering it. Now they are, because they've done it. So they had a big stay of execution, and they said no, they're going for it. So what I think happened was these birds presented avian flu over about a year ago. Then the birds got better. They wouldn't let them test them. They just ordered their execution. So in the name of, the family of Katie Pasitny and the BC Ostrich Farm, thoughts and prayers go out to you. Like, it's just tragic and horrendous. They're not even food, but the Canadian Food Inspection Agency decided to get their hands on it. And it was horrific watching what happened. They couldn't access the birds for a year. Just tragic. And I don't know about you guys, how you guys feel out there, but it's just, it's not good. And if that's a sign of what my government in Canada can do.
Yeah, but they've been doing this already for years, also in the Netherlands, right? With the chickens.
Same here.
Even with the pork.
Mm.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same here.
When does it stop? Hopefully, we all unite.
And remember also with the cows, actually, like 20 years ago, they had to do the same. And there was the mad cow disease, of course, which is totally human caused, because we were feeding the cows basically bone meal from their own brothers and sisters. So it's totally insane. We humans are creating these problems ourselves, and then we have to kill these animals.
Yeah, we're having
for no purpose.
Yeah, we're having the same issues over here now with our turkeys. We're having like the bird flu issue again, and this comes up pretty much every couple of years, but it's after raising its head again. And I was watching it on the news the other day, and I was just like, "Holy shit! When does this stop?"
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Bovar, of course.
Yeah.
And so,
it's just
So a little backstory here, guys, and I mean, I know this conversation lit up all over the place, especially for once one of my videos that actually caught it. But I'll tell you what happened. Peter sent me a TikTok, and it was like, check this out, and it was this like really pleasant farmer guy kind of thing. Whatever, he's a naturalist, doesn't matter. Whatever, he's standing in front of cows, mentioning that cows are dropping dead in Denmark. So I grabbed that and I reposted it on Instagram, and it kind of went off. And in the middle of that, what happened was Peter mentioned to me that the video was taken down from TikTok. So, and not to mention, it was because of the Bovaer. So I know Victoria just mentioned the Bovaer. So they've been, Brian, Hunter-Gatherer Mindset, when he came on the show, we talked about this. This was the first, I don't think, Mark, you'd heard of it before this. We talked about Bovaer being fed, and what it is, it's an additive to cattle feed that lowers the methane in the cow farts and burps. Well, now apparently cows are starting to drop dead. So we know where the science has led us that way. And it's just another, like, when does it stop? It's just ridiculous. And, you know, in what I've heard from Brian, Arla Foods is one of the biggest dairy corporations in the world. I know because I did some research in Canada in my grocery stores. They're responsible for a lot of the imported cheese in Canada. They are mandated. Denmark was mandated to use this feed. It became legal, became law, and now cows are dropping dead. So, you know, call us heretics, call us crazy, but it's just another thing that they're doing in the name of climate change. And
it's extremely worrying, though, isn't it? It really is. It's terrifying. Really worrying.
And you know what happens, that they will label it as misinformation, because probably if you look at all the farms, it's not that all cows are dropping dead, but this is just the tip of the iceberg, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what else is happening in the cows' stomachs, and what effect this stuff has. I mean,
Brian just said they stopped it today. If that's true, that's great, because you know, and what we were just talking about, that's like you're saying, the tip of the iceberg, Peter, because, you know, it's funny how they do these things without any testing. And, you know, like, look at glyphosate. Like, the FDA says it's safe in these amounts, and it's just not. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take a rocket science to know this shit is ridiculous. And, you know, our good buddy Billy G at every step of the way is trying to stop us from eating meat. It's clear. What do they want us to eat? A bite of beef a week? Like, you know, why that then? If it's so bad for us, and so why would they even put a minimal amount? You know, that it doesn't make sense to me. So, I mean, I hope to God they stop this Bovaer immediately. You know, it's clear. I'm worried, Peter, like you, like the tip of the iceberg. It's only the beginning.
Yeah.
And, you know, what else are they going to do? So I think it's time we all unite. Our voices have to stand strong. Silence is complicity. And I'm trying to yell from the rooftops now to all my friends and family, like, we have to be concerned with what we're eating. And, you know,
I was thinking also that, I mean, talking about animal abuse and all these things, unnecessary suffering from animals, because these are measures that come from, let's say, let's just say vegans or green-minded people, or that direction.
Yeah.
And they are just giving animals this stuff without proper research. And my first thought was, why don't we give it to ourselves? Because probably we can reduce methane as well. Then
a lot of vegans crying right now, Peter.
But I thought, sure, we won't do that. But now that I think about it, we probably would. Because, I mean, look at all the medications and Ozempic. I mean, so we would actually give it to ourselves as well.
But, you know, Byron makes a good point here. Where are all the vegan protesters? Like, even in to tie this into the ostriches, like, what the hell is going on? You want to protect animals. You're so against people eating them, but yet there was nothing. You know, they had obviously they had their own contingency of people out in the farms, but also these Bovaers, like, if animals have a right to live in their natural environment, isn't that what ultimately, aside from the nutrition stuff, wouldn't that be what ethic vegans want more than anything?
Yeah.
Is to protect these animals at all costs? I mean, now it's just, you know, we're torturing them to eat them, but yet giving them additives and chemicals to disrupt their natural function. Where are they? What's going on? Answer me that.
Yeah,
It's just
madness.
insane. Okay, well, you know what? Let's tie it into some science, Mark. I watched a few of your comments, a few of your videos this week, and you know the same thing goes on: is trusting these experts, and you know, all the time we sit here putting our faith and our trust in the experts. Who taught these experts? Where did this information come from? So let's just get into it with a couple videos for you, Mark, this week, and we can see where this goes. Would love you guys all to chime in, but we'll. Mark has a little catchphrase we're going to get into right now.
These guys are getting richer while you're getting sicker. Write that down. 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 These foods are highly processed, complete garbage, and I can promise you now, I wouldn't even give it to my fucking dog. Write that down.
All right, that down. Let's get into this one that Mark sent me this morning, and we'll go from there.
Why are carnivore, high-saturated fat keto, and animal-based diets horrible for your health? First, to define, all three of these diets are low in fiber and high in red meat. The carnivore diet is an all-meat diet that primarily consists of red meats such as beef, raw milk, and organs. The high-saturated fat keto diet is a keto diet that does not restrict saturated fat intake. The animal-based diet is a low-fiber diet that primarily relies on animal products such as beef and raw milk, but also includes fruit and honey. Let's examine every reason why these low-fiber diets that are high in saturated fat animal products and raw milk are horrendous for your health. First, there's nothing good about raw milk. It contains the same nutrients as pasteurized milk, and raw milk does not prevent lactose intolerance. That said, raw milk is only consumed by between 1.6 and 3.2% of the population, but it's responsible for 96% of dairy-related foodborne illnesses and serves as a reservoir for antibiotic resistance genes, which threaten humanity's existence as we know it. And raw milk contains all of these pathogens because a healthy or symptom-naive cow's microbiome will serve as a home for a handful of pathogens that you won't know about because the cow won't look sick. Exhibit 1, bovine leukemia virus. Around 94% of herds in the United States have at least one cow that is bovine leukemia virus positive. Will remain active in raw milk and has attributed to a little over half of the breast cancer cases in this study, and according to this meta-analysis, exposure to bovine leukemia virus was associated with between a 2 to even 5-fold increased risk of breast cancer, depending on the analysis that you go by. Exhibit 2, the bacterial pathogens in raw milk are known to cause miscarriages, kidney failure or injury, paralysis, and potentially heart valve replacements. On the topic of the heart, according to the Keto CTA study, lean, otherwise healthy individuals on a high saturated fat keto diet experienced an increase in atherosclerotic plaque at a rate comparable to that predicted for individuals who are more likely to experience a major cardiovascular event like a heart attack in the future. Moreover, according to academic human data galore, a diet high in saturated fat reduces insulin sensitivity and increases liver fat. Replacing saturated fat containing foods such as beef and butter with plant fats such as nuts, olive oil, and or canola oil can significantly lower your risk for heart disease risk events and improve insulin sensitivity. Now, unless you're getting your hands on some spleen, the carnivore diet is going to be much lower in vitamin C than most other diets. This is a problem for your bones and joints because you need vitamin C to recycle the enzymes.
Honest to God.
Oh my Lord.
That went on too much, Tony.
Oh, buddy. I was painful to watch it the first time, and then just so. Before I get you guys' take on it, if she said like it's responsible for 0.0%, how are they getting these numbers? Like where is this?
Exactly, exactly.
And then the other thing is,
because when you look at what's been going on now in the last, I've said this many times, in the last 5 years, it's going in this direction. It started off with hundreds of people. It started off with thousands of people. Now you have millions of people in the world that are eating this way. And it's just like when does the bleeding stop? When does, honest to God, I don't give a shit about your studies. It's just it's painful, boys. It's painful.
The chat just lit up here, and here we'll just show you. We'll show them here. Like,
yeah, this one. This is spot on.
I mean,
it's unbelievable.
You know, the saddest part is that we all know this, and yet, if you were just new to discovering about she looks convincing. She's behind this beautiful scientifically supplementy background, and it's like almost she left the lecture hall and went right and just started spouting off the same
Can
shit.
I just mention as well, she mentioned at the very, very end, the vitamin C.
Yeah.
Now, I've been on record saying so many times that in the last 5 years, I haven't been sick once. Haven't had the flu once. And what are everybody taking at the moment for the flu? Your vitamin C.
Yeah.
They're drinking their orange juice because they're
Well-
lacking in vitamin C. Well, how come I don't take any vitamin C whatsoever? And I'm in the best health possible.
Well, I haven't taken vitamin C. I've actually changed. I've actually started supplementing vitamin C, but for my own reasons, and it's not what you're saying, Mark. It's
Me too, Tony. So yeah,
I
once
actually,
with
I
work-
actually, the more shit that I come across as far as like our exposure to chemicals and pesticides and God forbid nanotechnology, we won't go there because we don't want to get a strike. But I have decided to start supplementing vitamin C to see how I feel and see how it goes. But it's not because and that's where we looked at it, like this debate, like optimally an ancestral human would get enough vitamin C. It's clear. So that, for my reasons, they're my own, and I'll probably do a video about it sometime. But it's interesting how they fall back on this shit. That's that they don't look at it in any context. And I mean, when we had Malcolm Kendrick on, he explained a lot about vitamin C that kind of started me on this, that woke me up to it. But I mean, it's the optimal, the necessary, and where to get it from. There's so many areas that are and it's just it's clear that carnivores don't have scurvy, and that's their argument, which is it just doesn't make sense.
So honestly,
Well,
and then
I
sorry.
had my vitamin C tested, by the way. Just
Okay.
so, and it was perfectly fine. Just like the folic acid, which is another common argument. So,
Well, that's another thing that I've been, the deeper you go into folic acid, the more horrific you realize that the synthetic shit is not good. That's also with
I should say folate probably.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. Yeah, but
I mean, and people think that whatever country you're in, your crops are safe, but they do these things and they don't tell you. So all these prenatal vitamins and all these that pregnant women must take by any, which I'm not saying folate isn't necessary, but the folic acid synthetic supplement has been pretty much proven now that it's arguably toxic. So we spray all our crops with folic acid to get that folate that's not folate in the cereals. So when you're eating your cereal and it says, "Oh, high in folic acid," no. There's obviously a lot of nuance with that, but and then the whole thing about raw dairy, it's like, can't we just live in a world where it's due diligence and know your sources, trust your sources, and make the best decision for yourself and your family? Pretty simple. I mean, if you want to drink paint, put a warning on the label saying it may be toxic, but are you going to do it? Raw dairies, they're putting it in the say, like it's more harmful to Canadians to consume and sell raw dairy than it would be to sell somebody paint and somebody like it's complete and utter nonsense. And I'm almost sick and tired of this coming up all the time about raw dairy. I mean,
But I don't know if you guys are familiar with soccer. Are you familiar with soccer?
I know what it is.
Okay, there's a guy in Europe at the moment. His name is Erling Haaland. Now, this guy is an absolute beast. Yeah. He's an absolute beast. You want to see the size of this guy. Now, this guy is built like a machine. And he put up a video there about 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about what he eats on a daily basis. Now, he eats a lot of steak and he drinks raw milk. Now, I'm not even joking with you, Tony. This guy is built like an absolute machine. Like he's scoring goals left, right, and center at the moment. And as I said, he put that video up, and everybody was jumping all over social media. Oh, this is what I should do. I should be eating more steak. I should be drinking more raw milk. Now, because he's such a big influence in the world at the moment, everybody's jumping on it. But when I mentioned it, like say a couple of months ago, everybody was like, "Oh no!" I mentioned it. Remember when there was a woman, I think it was this country, or I think she lived in England. Her daughter passed away from drinking raw milk, and she went all over social media, and it was a sad story. But I jumped all over it, and I was like, "Hang on a second, it wasn't down to the raw milk on its own. Like you need to look at other factors here. And I got lambasted all over social media about this. That's why I had to take the video down. TikTok were on to me saying, "Listen, this is false information. This is misinformation."
And even if it were true, right? I mean, it's just one case. And what this woman did in the video, she mentioned all these things, and then in between she talked about something with miscarriage or pregnancy.
Yes,
and
that was
that's
the one.
Only one situation where you could argue, like, okay, maybe play it safe and skip the raw milk, skip the fish, or that sort of things. But
Peter, you just said it there. That's an immune system thing. When your immune system is taxed overly and your gut is broken and weak, these are going to affect you a lot differently than someone who's robustly, resiliently healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the E. coli thing all over again, right? Like more people die from spinach and romaine lettuce than actual hamburger. Mm-hmm. And where's the everybody freaks out about, especially in Canada, we're not even allowed to cook burgers in a restaurant medium rare because it's illegal. It's actually illegal because of E. coli bacteria, which we have in our gut all the time. And it's I think, like, in my opinion, the ones who are weak and exposed the same amount of E. coli to that person compared to somebody who has a strong, resilient gut, it just goes through them. It doesn't cause a reaction. So it's all this stuff. There's so much, and I mean, look at our modern day food supply. Our monocrop agriculture lives are weakening our guts, which are making us more exposed to stuff that wouldn't even be around. It wouldn't.
Let me tell you one thing. That's I'm eating raw meat, as you know, for about a year now. I did it before, but now I'm really consistently eating raw meat. And I grow more and more confident, because the only place where raw meat gets really contaminated is either when the animal is unhealthy or in an unhealthy environment, and unhygienic handling. But this unhygienic handling part, of course, plays a role with other foods as well. And our stomach acids, if your immune system is all right, can handle it perfectly. And thinking about that, you can hardly do it wrong, because if you leave meat in the fridge for several days, nothing happens. And if it goes slightly bad because it has been there for some time, it doesn't immediately produce things like salmonella or campylobacter or that sort of stuff, and your stomach can basically handle it. And I have a carnivore friend that ate a beef testicle, and it was a bit off, and he got sick for just a few hours. He was a bit shaky, but there was clearly something wrong. It was probably handled in a wrong way from a Turkish supermarket or so.
Yeah.
But also then he got better after a few hours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's something that I've found, like, that when you're on a budget, you go into, and some of the supermarkets have like buy it now or eat it tonight kind of thing with a discount. I've done that a couple times, and I didn't feel as like sick, but I could tell it was maybe something off. But I mean, I'm under the impression that I tell people this too, is like, people ask me all the time, Tony, is this meat bad? And it's like, well, do you have to think about it? If you can't smell it, or something's like, yeah, it's bad. But if if it smells fine, eat it, And I think we're getting weaker and weaker, and all these things are going to be, pretty soon, all these broken gutted people aren't going to be even able to eat raw steak or rare beef, because they're just going to be,
because they're gonna be rare to buy. There's not going to be anything left.
Yeah, no doubt.
No, but these things are also from the past. I mean, these things happened like 50, 60 years ago. We learned that, or even longer ago, we learned that raw milk can be dangerous, because the environment where it was handled and produced was totally different from nowadays. Because in the past, 100 years ago, if you would transport milk from a farm and then to a local milk dealer, and then it would stay on the front of the house for half a morning, and that sort of stuff, and the cleaning of the bottles and was totally not checked like it is done nowadays. So, same with meat. Even pork or beef that you find in the supermarket, it will be checked quite thoroughly, because you cannot rely on the idea that all people will cook it properly.
Oh man,
So you get big problems
I
otherwise.
always take a walk around the meat section to see if there's any deals, because like I'm like, I'll eat it. Like you guys, you put it on $10 off, I'm done. I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, right on. So in the chats here, we got Lambs. How you doing, buddy? And Selena, I just wanted to touch this. I know we talk about this quite a bit, but she mentioned this, and this is what it sort of goes into the same. It's like we've all decided to be animal-based carnivores or whatever way you're eating because of nature. We realized what your body needs from a first principle standpoint. Now, I don't care if you eat carbohydrates. I don't care what like if you think you like them or whatever your reasons are, but that they weren't fucking natural. They fruit in season, but that's it. You know, there was not this sugar, carbohydrate, crops even. Like, come on, man. You had a potato.
You know what really annoys me about this guy at the moment is he's picking a side now. He's getting all these carnivores to come on his side and go against what we believe in. And that's what's really, really not. I mean, he had an interview. I don't know if you guys seen my latest reel I did, but he had Sally Norton on, and like I like Sally. Sally, what she spoke about plants and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm a massive fan. I've read her book. Huge fan. But when she came out this reel that I watched this morning, like I was sent this first thing this morning, I was like, okay, I need to do a video on this. I woke up this morning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay off social media. I'm not gonna do any videos at all. But when I was sent this video, I said I'm gonna jump all over this, because now I've done around maybe 4 or 5 videos on this guy already. And the good thing is this guy's watching me on a regular basis. So he's watching me, he is watching me, he's watching my videos, he's watching my stories. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, touch wood, he reaches out to me and he says to me, listen, let's have this conversation. Because he's probably looking at me and saying that this guy hasn't got a clue what he's talking about. This guy's in for a rude awakening if he comes up against me, trust me.
And you know, it doesn't make any sense, because you know, when I started this too, I mean, I'm just from personal experience, I went years without carbohydrates at all, and I was fine. I didn't feel anything like, and you know, I gravitated to some different meats, seafood, you know, some different organ meats from time to time, played around with it, didn't go too crazy with them. It wasn't like I was eating testicles, liver, and heart, spleen out like all in the same week. And I just don't see how all of a sudden you can flop and say they're essential. Like that just doesn't make sense to me, because we know they're not. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's crazy. And I saw that you mentioned that with the Sally Norton, I didn't want to watch because I love her. And I'm like, oh, no. I don't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm a massive fan of Sally. Massive fan. And I'm actually a massive fan of Gabrielle Lyons as well. I've actually seen I've seen the podcast with her. Who else has he had on? He's had other people on that are in the carnivore space. And these are people that I used to look up to, and I still do look up to these people, but I can definitely see the divides. I can see what he's trying to do here. He's trying to get these people against us, and that's just complete horseshit. It's just complete horseshit, because there's many people out there that are at the moment that are giving out other side. You know what I mean? They're giving out what's going on. This is down to addiction. You look at what, I don't know if you guys seen the Barkay interview. Did you see that one?
No.
With who?
Now, Barkay destroyed Lisa Witherman on this. Absolutely destroyed her. Now, she mentioned, if you watch the very, very end, she stated that she'd never had any alcohol in her home at all. And Barkay put up pictures at the end of the video, and you can clearly see what's in the background. There's a bottle of like whiskey or vodka. Now, I'm not saying that she's drinking it, but she said that she has no alcohol in her home whatsoever.
Interesting.
That's what she said. You know what I mean? So we're all going by. Now, she has said many times that she's been a carnivore for 16 years. And in that 16 years, she done everything perfect. How do we know in that 16 years that she did absolutely everything perfect? We're only going by what she said.
Of course. And that's the problem.
And even if she did that, by the way, Even if she did everything perfect, that doesn't mean anything still.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, like in my life, I have just like I arguably destroyed my health with alcohol and drugs. Like that is not a question. I have come out of that. Thank God I'm still here. I'm worried about the irreparable damage I may have caused myself because of it. I'm under no misconceptions that you have to do anything. The only thing I will say is we have to really see where this is coming from, because James made a good comment here. Shout out to James and the community. Love you, buddy. Their aim is to reach people before they awaken. And I think this is another side of it that's not being discussed. The amount of how much reach these big influencers get by, all they need is a donor. All they need is a backing from somebody corporate. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you know, I've kind of changed my mind. And that's the thing that worries me, is that they saw something that was gaining traction and like huge movement, and they have to put their little claws in it to stop it. And now we know they get us from all angles. They get us from the environment, they get us from the health, they get us from the, now all of a sudden it's just, you know, they want to take steps back to make us, and it's clearly a division tactic.
Absolutely.
And that's frightening.
Sorry, Tony. Can we just move it on a little bit? Because myself and Peter looked at this video last. Now, the reason why I want to move on a little, it's still touching on the same subject because at the moment, everybody's given this false pretense that we need carbohydrates in order to improve our health.
Yeah.
Now, I sent this video on to Peter because he's a type 1 diabetic. This bodybuilder is going on that if you're a type 1 diabetic, you can still eat carbohydrates and your training is actually going to help you overcome this. I'll let you watch the video first, and then me and Peter will actually talk a little bit.
Yeah, and it's a little bit nuanced, because you could argue that maybe in the circumstance of certain disorders, you might need to introduce glucose or so. I mean, even Bart K or Eddie Goki mentions it that sometimes you might have to use it as a drug, but that's not the case here if you dive deep into it. So
let's watch it.
Just doesn't get talked about enough. And then we've got type 1 diabetics wondering, is there something wrong with me? Why is Susie, why is Michael losing body fat here and losing weight, and I'm putting all the work in and I'm feeling stuck? Our bodies are just built different. We talk about this a lot. One of the ways our bodies are built different is that our muscles tend to rely more on glucose than fat during intense training. Now think about HIIT training or muscle building, weightlifting. Our bodies tend to use more sugar when they should be using a little bit more fat for fuel during different times. This impacts what's called metabolic flexibility, or your body's ability to shift more to fat when usually the body does. In non-diabetics, studies that show our bodies tend to shift a little bit more towards glucose than fat earlier on than non-diabetics. But also what you're going to see is there's another study that was done. It was a small population, but they took biopsies to see how different were type 1 diabetics metabolically when it came to using fat for fuel or glucose for fuel. And what they found was that early on, type 1 diabetics had issues when it came to using more fat for fuel. They saw this by measuring what's called lactate in the blood. Lactate is produced by more glucose you burn, and an issue using that glucose as energy in what's called your mitochondria was compromised. So as a result, more lactate starts to build up. So that's what they use to determine that type 1 diabetics tend to burn more glucose. And this is in comparison to their controls, which were non-diabetics, showed them using more fat for fuel earlier. Of course, calories in, calories out are important to the bigger picture, but there are layers that get stacked on more with type 1 diabetics that they have to deal with that can make things more challenging when it comes to losing the body fat. Could you change how you work out to really improve that metabolic flexibility? And so what they did was they took them for over 7 weeks and put HIIT training in, so high intensity sprinting, and they found that after 7 weeks of doing this, it actually shifted. So their ability to shift fuels when it was time to switch to more burning fat for fuel improved closer to what was seen in the control groups or groups that were non-diabetic. It shows we can train our body in a way to help to burn body fat by understanding how your body is different. How else can we help our body to train ourselves to use more fat for fuel? So another way is thinking about insulin timing. What we know about insulin, the more insulin that you have on board, the body tends to say, okay, let's store this rather than burn it. So another way you can train your system is to have less insulin on board at the time that you're doing this HIIT training or cardio workout. You know, understand our body better. This is not to take away that calories in, calories out are not important, because they are, but we have to think, what does this mean for a type 1 diabetic who understands their body's different, and now they're capitalizing on it, as many details as they can to actually get to the way to the goal. 5 months down the line, a year down the line, 2 years down the line? How different would their body be if they really understood how their bodies are different? How different would their body be if they could?
I can't take it, man. I
No.
can't
Yeah,
take
I
it.
think we've seen enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Just
He's
before
making
you
some
guys
good
go,
points,
I want
but
to say
also some
something.
bad points.
I want to say something before you guys go on this, because I'm just going to go from what the hell would we have done when you had to hunt for an animal?
100%. 100%.
What would you have done? Would you worry
Yeah.
about all this stuff? What would you
Yeah.
have done?
Yeah. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, because the only reason I'm going to talk about it, because I've had experience in the past dealing with the type 1s. Now, these people were getting back to me and they were saying to me they were having these hypoglycemic attacks regularly. Okay. And I was like, okay, hang on a second. Maybe you don't need as much insulin as you think. Okay. That's all I said. I just said, let's just try it. Now, I wanted to make sure it was their decision. It wasn't going to be I was only planting the seeds. That's all. I was just saying, okay, let's just see what happens. But at the end of the day, you've got to make the decision. So they got back to me and said, okay, what do you want me to do? And I was like, okay, let's just have some insulin in the morning, and let's have another bit at nighttime or in the afternoon, and let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. We took the carbohydrates out of the diet completely. Everything improved. Okay, now these people are going through joint pain. They weren't recovering after their workouts.
Yeah.
These people were still able to build muscle. You know what I mean? So when I hear this nonsense that your muscles depend on glucose over fat, is complete and utter nonsense. I'll tell you the reason why. Because you guys know this. 5 years ago, I competed in a bodybuilding competition. Now, I got an amazing shape on stage on a no carbohydrate diet. I didn't eat any carbohydrates for 1 year. Nothing, right? It's absolutely insane how people are convinced that you need carbohydrates to build muscle. I also did a video on this morning with your man Zane Greg, because he was talking about, okay, when it comes to muscle glycogen, your body needs the carbohydrates. We need to understand this. If you want to get pumped, you want to gain a lot of mass, eat a lot of carbohydrates. Eat as much as you like. But I don't care what any influencer tells you. I don't care what any fitness person tells you. You are not gaining muscle. The size of the muscle is an illusion. Okay, it's not muscle. I'm very, very lean at the moment. I'm probably around 10% body fat at the moment. If I went for the next 6 weeks and had a lot of carbohydrate, I would balloon up. I'd be a lot bigger. I gained probably around 20, 30 pounds easily. Now, that 20 or 30 pounds that I've gained is not muscle. I can assure you. I wish it was, because I'm working my arse off to build muscle. Trust me. If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it. So we need to go back to basics here. Half of what he says is right, but the other half is complete and utter nonsense. The fact is this: the human body does not need any carbohydrates at all to perform. Whether you're running, whatever sport that you're doing, football, soccer, baseball, whatever it is. Same when you're doing to come in. Same when you're building muscle. You cannot convince me that we need carbohydrates, because I can tell you right now, you don't know what inflammation is. You don't understand why people are getting arthritis pain, knee pain. You've no idea.
Before we
crazy.
touch with Peter and on the insulin side of this, I wanted to just mention something. Where in the last 500, 2,000, 10,000 years would we have had a choice at our convenience, at our disposal, and trial and error all this shit? We wouldn't have. We would have been, our bodies, someone mentioned in the comments about the healing, but that's exactly it. This fat adaptation is a natural mechanism that we have forgotten, or we have not even tapped into. So we have no idea what is ultimately human anymore, because we've been influenced by all the Western bullshit. So the longer you're fat adapted, I would argue, the more efficient your body, fat adapted with real food. I'm not talking about, counting this or counting that. I'm talking about getting the optimal diet for a species specific diet for humans. Your body would perform optimally. That's my opinion.
And why can't these people not understand that we have two energy sources? We don't need to rely on one.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. Why did it constantly keep talking about carbohydrates? That these
Yeah.
are our only reliable energy source. They've clearly never been fat adapted. Never.
Like, can you
Because
imagine back in the day? Back in the day, you're eating, you're hunting, you're gathering, you're doing your things. You're like, I hate those little stupid tubers. I want bison. And then you come across a blueberry bush, and you're like, holy shit, those blueberries can make me hunt so much better. Let's hoard them. Get the village out here. Let's bushel these blueberries. We don't have bushels. Let's build a basket. Like, what? It doesn't make sense, right?
yeah, that's crazy. It's just
Well, I know that this guy has tried a low carb diet. He said it in one of his videos. And of course, what happens a lot is that they'll say that it didn't work for me. And that's no doubt because they tried it for a few weeks or so. And
Yeah.
especially when it comes to exercise performance, you have to do at least half a year. When I started keto, I'm a cyclist, so I'm sure it took me about half a year just to tune the insulin and get used to the whole training procedure that's totally different and all this stuff. But yeah, it is a little bit more nuanced here in the case of a type 1 diabetic, because he was showing a lot of research articles, and there is one issue in type 1 diabetics, and that's the fact that we inject insulin under the skin. So our insulin levels in the system at the level of the muscles is always higher than it is in a healthy person. So no matter how well we do in terms of treatment, it will be higher. So we are insulin resistant. And if you read those articles, you'll, especially in the introduction, you'll read about like, oh, it's just like in type 2 diabetics, that glycolysis is promoted, so we are burning more glucose. And so he is right on that point, but that's in the context of a standard diet. I mean, I've done it. I mean, I drastically reduce glucose, reduce insulin needs. So my insulin levels are still slightly higher than in you two guys, because I inject it. So it is more difficult to get fat adapted probably, but it's certainly possible. And I mean, bring your insulin levels down.
But I know you speak from a type 1 perspective. And guys, just to let everybody know, we've got a couple things coming out with diabetes. Coach Stephen Thomas is coming on. We're going to talk a little bit more about type 2 diabetes. We just did a little talk on diabetes that we'll be putting out fairly soon. We just want to put them together. But Peter, you mentioned something, and it's just fat adapted. We would have been born fat adapted. We would have been born into this way.
Yeah, we came into ketosis. Yeah.
We would have been able to tap into it. And when we had the fruit on the tree, we would have probably ran a couple laps around the tree, and then there you go. Now you're on your way to your next hunt. Like, that's the problem with all these modern day things. And I'm not saying from the type 1's perspective, because you're a lot more, you have to. But from the normal people.
You don't have to, because I find this a very important point to make, because Mark mentioned hypoglycemia. But in both type 2 and type 1 diabetics, the approach advocated by doctors is totally wrong, because they fear hypoglycemia and they tell you to eat to prevent it. But every time that you have a hypo, I mean, of course, you have to treat it in the acute phase, but you have to go back and think about what have you been doing wrong, because it's always lack of insulin. Lack of too much insulin. So you injected too much.
Yeah.
And you have to adjust your treatment. And that's very difficult with type 2 diabetics, because you'd like to say to them, stop eating carbs the next day. And especially if they are on insulin. I mean, I had one in the comments. She talked about hypos. And of course, the doctor will say like, well, yeah, try to include 20, 30 grams of carbs again to resolve those hypos. But yeah, then it's a vicious circle. You cannot get out of it.
Can I just jump in there, Pierre? Sorry for interrupting. Yeah, this is the reason why, like, I had this conversation with somebody on TikTok, and he kept on giving out to me. And I was like, I don't think this guy is actually listening to what I'm saying. He wasn't reading my comments. This guy, I can't remember, Peter knows more than I do. But anyway, let's just say he was a type 1. I was clearly stating that your body needs insulin. I'm not saying your body does not need insulin, but what I'm saying was if you're eating more carbohydrates, your demand for insulin goes up. And that's what I was clearly trying to say. Now, when I've worked with people in the past, as I've mentioned, I have mentioned to these people when they've come back to me and said to me, I'm having these attacks. Do you have any advice? And I'm saying, well, the issue is down to you're giving your body too many carbohydrates here. So I just asked the question, do you really feel you need all this insulin? Or can we eliminate the problem and then let's see what we can do with the insulin? Now, we did it in phases. We took the carbohydrates out at the right pace and we dropped the insulin down. Let's say we were doing like 12 times a day. We brought it down to 10. We brought it down to 8. We brought it down to 6. Eventually, we brought it down to 2. So it wasn't a matter of just saying, okay, I want to do it twice a day and that's it. No, we did this over a period of time. I can't remember exactly how long it was. Now, if I'm right, Peter, you know more than I do. The insulin I had him on was Lavamere, I think it's called. Is that what it's called? That's what he was telling me he was on. Now, again, I want to make this clear. I never said come off the insulin. I just said eliminate the carbohydrates and let's see what we can do with the insulin. Now, I worked with this guy for over 8 months. His insulin now, he's only taking it twice a day. First thing in the morning, and he's taking it again mid-afternoon, maybe around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And this guy is perfect. He's fine.
He's eating regimen, right?
Yeah, he's that's what I'm saying. He's on a full, Tony, he's on a full carnivore diet. Full carnivore diet he's on now. He's not eating any carbohydrate. This guy's a type 1 now. Type 1 diabetic, and he has no carbohydrates in his diet whatsoever.
Oh, yeah, and another thing, by the way, so he was basically a type 1 and type 2 diabetic at the same time, probably.
Yeah.
And I made a video about this, and
I saw that.
I got a comment, and somebody probably heard like, oh, type 1 and type 2 diabetes are totally different things. And of course that is, but there was a guy, he probably heard the church bell ringing, but he didn't get any of the details. So he was saying to me, like, you're talking nonsense. If you have type 1, you cannot also have type 2. And well, actually, this guy that we saw here, the fitness guy a few minutes ago, he actually has a very good video on it. Indeed, type 1 diabetics are insulin resistant, and we can get type 2 diabetes very easily. Double trouble.
And that's why I love having you, Peter, especially from your context. I feel for you because you're a type 1 diabetic, but it's got such, it's kind of that, like Mark and I, we think about it in terms of we're not type 1 diabetics, but if we were, it's the same thing. You're just, the insulin factor, and you've got to live it, which is, it's great to have your.
There's hardly anything that I should do differently from you guys, in the sense that I should optimize my diet and eat healthy and do everything that you guys have to do as well. There are some subtle differences in some places, but yeah, just to mention that video I made. It's really unfortunate that we are in this atmosphere, that this guy was clearly not agreeing with me, and he reported the video, and it got removed. And luckily, I could.
I was the same, Peter. I was the same. This guy that I was trying to have the conversation with, he reported me to TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he reported it. That was quite obvious.
but I got a warning from TikTok for giving out misinformation.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, do I go back and do another video, or do I just leave it alone? And I was like, I'm not even going to waste my bleeding energy, because if anybody watched the video, the first video that I did, I clearly stated exactly what I said. I never said to any type 1 out there that you should never be on insulin.
That's
never. But I also said was, and I used a good analogy. If someone who's trying to quit alcohol, do you say to these people, okay, it's okay, but you can just add in more alcohol? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. No. So, like, as I said, I want to make it perfectly clear, because I'll probably get this all over social media again. I am not saying you should not take fucking insulin. Listen to what I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm just saying that it can be easily looked after if you do it the right way.
Manage. I mean, it comes down to the Bernstein. Manage it with small numbers.
Manage it, and
small numbers.
And this is the reason why you need the right coach in your corner, because, as I said, we did this over an 8-month period.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and we were able to manage his type 1 very, very easily. Now he's not getting the joint pain anymore. He's not hypoglycemic anymore. He's not getting these attacks anymore. Why aren't people not listening to these people? He's not the only one. I've worked with, I think I've worked about maybe 3 in the last 5 years. I've worked with more type 2s because it's quite prevalent in the world, what's going on in the world at the moment. But I have experience with type 1s. I've done a video. I actually interviewed one of these people. And this was like a few years ago. I put up every time someone calls me on social media, I'm like, okay, just watch this video. Listen to what this person is saying.
Yeah.
I stay silent in the interview. I just say, okay, this guy's doing all the talking. Listen to what he's saying. Listen to every word that he's saying. Are you going to call this person a liar?
Yeah.
Are you going to actually listen to him?
Well, you know, Mark, you both said something. And Peter, did your type 1, type 2 combo video got taken down?
Yes, but it got restored because the thing is that it's basically in almost all situations it's just an angry person reporting the video, and then the algorithm, of course, removes it, and you can appeal, and it worked every time for me, actually.
Because that's something that people like often miss, and it sort of touches in on Mark's feelings about this. Is type 1 and type 2 are 2 different things. They're not that it's diabetes, but it's not they're not the same thing. So when you say, Peter, type 1s can become type 2s, type 2s can become type 1s, because they can. It's a completely different mechanism and a completely different disease, if you want to call it a disease condition. I would say type 1 diabetes, if you got it from early stages of your life, is a disease. Type 2 is a condition that you bring on yourself later in life. And it's possible to circle both ways. If you over insulin yourself and you're eating a ridiculous amount of stuff, you probably could a type 1 could turn into a type 2. The other way around, if you're overloading insulin trying to get your glucose down as a type 2, you may burn out your pancreas, or the pancreas shuts down because it's like, I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's a very sensitive topic because people don't want to get blamed for their condition.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm no longer pre-diabetic, so I kind of know what I'm talking about as far as my body goes. All this bullshit with people saying is that now that, like, and this ties back into the sugar shit. Now they're saying that sugar doesn't. Holy Christ! Like, what the hell is going on? Okay, elevated blood sugar. Think about it. Okay, so yeah, that's a problem. Stop it. And people are saying now, well, sugar doesn't really cause type 2 diabetes. Okay.
Yeah. And it's not looking at the complete picture, because this fitness guy, he took this research paper in which people on a standard diet, which are carb-loaded people, and when they exercise or when they are even just doing simple movement, and of course their glycolysis is up, but that doesn't mean that you have to focus on that one specific part and ignore everything else and just put more sugar in it, because it's this reductionist stuff again.
And I mean, when I had that conversation with my doctor about me being like full-blown diabetic within 5 years, and I told her, I was like, I'm not eating sugar. She's like, that has nothing to do with it. Well, sorry, doctor, it does, because I'm not anymore. Like, what? And I'm okay. People can argue, well, it was the seed oils you cut out. Maybe it was the processed foods that you cut. Sure, that's all part of it. But I'll tell you what, when I eat sugar, my blood sugar goes through the roof. So it's pretty fucking simple, you know? Yeah. And now we're making excuses to eat carbohydrates, and coming from a pre-diabetic that needed to get that handled, because the more I learned about type 2 diabetes complications later in life was my wake-up call. So trying to manage it doesn't make sense, and that's where all these people get. It blows my mind, like from the sugar diet to the thing, and then James mentioned that there's a hit out. Like it doesn't make sense to me that people are flip flopping this dramatically in all aspects of our health and nutrition space. It does not make sense to me.
And if we go back to what your woman said earlier on, and she says there's no evidence that. When she talks about saturated fat being healthy, But okay, well, what's been happening in the last fucking 100 years?
Yeah,
people are on their knees at the moment. The health system is on its knees. So what's going on? Yeah. Tell me what's going on, because none of us are eating a high fat diet.
Yeah,
we're on a low fat diet. We're all going by the research.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're all following the studies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But why are people worse? Why are people still struggling? People
Yeah.
need to understand is that we've been listening to these people for far too long now, way too long now. The question is simply this: are we in a better position or are we in a worse position? Because I can tell you right now, everywhere I look, I can see people in a really, really bad way, really, really bad way. You know what I
Man,
mean? And every time you have a conversation with people, they'll always say to you, I'm going to the gym. My diet's clean. But guess what? I'm on medication.
yeah. No, it's clear. People, look around. Go into your high street supermarket, main street mall. Look at people. You cannot tell me. I don't know about where you guys live, but man, it's frightening. And God forbid they're putting up these walls with our censorship and we can't even have a talk about, hey man, you might want to think about getting healthy. Really? Just what? Now it's okay. Well, all these health influencers are dropped. I think it was a headline in Canada. One of our health influencers are jumping ship and realizing that like it was there. And I'm like, what? All this work that we've been doing. And I know from my personal experience, this way of eating that I have chosen to follow, it has made me more resilient. I have been able to open up and indulge in some bad things once in a while, but I am under no preconception that it's good. And you know what? If anything, I think there's so many more aspects to it all that if you're living a sedentary life and you're hooked on processed foods of any kind and you're eating carbohydrates from the monocrop agriculture, all of that stacks. And saying one thing is okay, but another thing isn't, they're all bad, man. Seed oils were not natural. They're not natural. So that I wanted to get into a video today about the seed oil thing, Mark, that you posted. I think it was today. But this argument has to stop. They were not around 150 years ago. This is not polyunsaturated fats. This is seed oils that are made from
that was the Dr. Id's one I done this morning.
Yeah, and my God. Just canola oil is not food for human beings. Simple. It's not about if there's anything good in there or not. Look at where they're made. Look at what they're packaged in. Look at how they don't smell. That should be your first signal that they're not good. Or like we as a chef, we got told that canola oil and grapeseed oil were great because they have a high smoke point. Why? And they have no smell and they don't assume any taste. Why? Oh shit. When you really look at that, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. And
everybody look at the video of Paul Mason on Low Carb Down Under that was released today, I think, where he really shows that seed oils are actually themselves probably causative for heart disease in a lot of cases.
And we go on a lot about sugar, but arguably seed oil is just as important.
See, the thing is, like, sugar has that argument about glucose being necessary. We know that. Okay, sure. But there is nothing. And that the only thing they say omega-6 fatty acids are essential in the proper ratio in meat, in fat. That's where it's essential. Not these adulterated all I'll say is look at the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio naturally. Look at it now. So all these people arguing seed oils, that is not a natural ratio. So you overload with omega-6, it's inflammatory. What the hell? Why do we have to argue this? It's unbelievable. And these people justifying it, they have to be paid. They have to be paid, bought and paid for. Like, I can understand having them in such a, okay, no. I can't say there's no place for them in our diet, but having the omega-6 ratio in the natural way of course they're going to be fine, but not unnaturally. Like the hexane, you can keep it. That's my opinion.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
And it's funny how we all argue these things, and that's the beautiful thing about this ancestral way of looking at things, man. I'm not perfect, but come on, man. I'm not looking at things to justify my Coke Zero once in a while. Like, it's not good. I don't like it, but I do enjoy it. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those things. But I was drinking 12 Cokes a day 20 years ago. Now I have a Coke Zero a month. And that's my choice. But I'm not gonna start saying, hey, Coke Zero's good. Look, it does nothing to me. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, crazy.
Well, boys, we're pushing an hour. We just wanted to say thanks to all the people chiming in, man. We really appreciate all the comments. Now that, like, I don't know if you noticed, we got the chat up. It's the first time I've seen this option. We are 3 non-tech savvy guys. That's just like, hey, look, we can put the chat up. That's awesome. So we're figuring stuff out. We got a lot of things coming down the pipe, everybody. I think, Mark, you are mentioning that Richard Smith might be having a conversation with us. I'm excited.
Yeah, Richard's. Yeah, we have him coming on soon. We have Stephen Thomas coming on Wednesday. We're going to try and get that up live.
Okay, cool. And I'm working on the interviews. We have the Blue Collar Carnivore that came out this week. One of your clients, or no, I think she found you on TikTok, Yvonne. We're catching up to this stuff. We're going to get our shit together, guys. I promise. We're working on it, getting everything sort of going. And we still have the endometriosis, women's hormones. We're finding the right time to get, Fleur, Aaliyah, and Pumi all together to have a little chat about that whole nonsense, which, and I'm reporting Fleur, for the last 2 cycles, she's had no symptoms, just mild, normal, if you can call it that. And this has been like a year and a half in progress. So this stuff is important. And we're going to get into all things women's hormones, endometriosis, PCOS in the near future and dedicate a certain week. So hopefully everybody can chime in and be part of that. We would really appreciate it. But we love all of you. Thanks for your comments. Mark, any final words, and where do people find you, and what are you doing now?
No, guys, as always, it's a pleasure. You guys are coming on, and we do this show for you guys. So if you ever have any topics that we miss out on, don't be afraid to reach out to us, because we're always looking on social media to try and pick out the rubbish that's on social media at the moment. And this week I was sent something that really impacted my life. It was a really, really proud moment. A client reached out to me during the week and they said, key in Irish carnivore coaches. Just keyed it in on Google, and guess whose name came up
This guy.
Honestly, it was just amazing. It's just an amazing. So yeah, if you want to find me, just type my name in Google. You'll find
it. Buddy, that's the ultimate. There you go. It's funny. If someone types in Tony Stewart, you get a NASCAR driver. So. And where do people reach out on social media, Mark?
I'm on Fitness Beyond Time 01 on TikTok and Instagram if you guys want to reach out to me. And I'm also, if you want to send me an email, you can send me an email at nsmark93@gmail.com.
Peter.
Well, you can also Google me as the Dutch Carnivore. I'm the only one. So you'll find me on all the platforms. And if you want to see more of my type 1 related videos, I try to make them also a bit in a more general fashion so that they're interesting for other people. Then you can find them on the low carb perspective, currently on TikTok and on YouTube.
Awesome. And guys, I'm doing a challenge. If anybody's into it, just come and get a hold of me at TonyStewartCoaching.com or reach out to me at Tony_food4thought. If you don't want all the stuff, just come and do it for fun. I'm resetting everything for 21 days. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, November 15th to December 6th. I'm just getting back to basics. It'll be fun. There's a few of us joining us. I'd love to shout out to Victoria. She's coming aboard, and Lisa, the Prairie Carnivore. We're going to have a little bit of fun before Christmas chaos. And I am on social media at Tony_food4thought. We're trying to get this message out. We really appreciate you every Sunday. Very special shout out to and thanks to the carnivore community worldwide. Go follow them on YouTube, please. These are the conversations that we need to be having. They are a very strong presence on Instagram, but they're trying to get their YouTube channel up and going. So please go subscribe to them, guys, because it's a necessary thing where people get together, talk about the things that matter to them, and the conversations are loose, cash, and a lot of special guests. They're awesome. We appreciate Brian, Selena, and all of you guys out there. Thanks. And James, shout out to you, buddy.
Yeah, Tony, let me mention that it's also very nice to watch this interview with Dave Mack. Was a great interview.
Yeah, great. I mentioned that to James during the week. I watched it. Brilliant. Awesome. Amazing. Well done, James.
Awesome. And so, guys, thank you to Byron Funk. And don't forget about Carnivore Evolution, guys. Victoria and Mark have their project. They're on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify. They do great one-on-one interviews. We are coming out with our stuff. I'm working on it, guys. We're trying to get our editing game up to snuff. We just figured out the chats. We love you all. We'll see you next Sunday.
See you later, guys. Bye-bye.